The ending of Dragon Ball GT has to be one of the most interesting aspects of the Dragon Ball anime. Despite the divisiveness of GT and the years that have passed since then, it's still often discussed as one of the best moments in Dragon Ball. Even so, it's shrouded in mystery because of how abstract it can seem to be. Did Goku die at the end of GT? Does he go on to train with Shenron? Is he immortal? So let's go over exactly what happened to Goku at the end of GT. In episode 64, the final episode of GT, Shenron is summoned without anyone calling out to him in complete daylight, as opposed to the usual darkened skies. After granting one final wish for Goku, reviving those killed since Hell opened, Goku leaves atop Shenron, saying goodbye to his family and making a few stops along the way. In the end, Goku welcomes the Dragon Balls onto himself, as he and Shenron disappear. So, where did he go? To understand Goku's fate, we have to rewind a little bit, because what happens in the final fight against Omega Shenron really sets the stage.
Now it's my turn. I'm going to destroy this entire world.
The fight against Omega Shenron had taken everything out of Goku and the others, with not even Super Saiyan left to access. Even so, Goku tries his best to protect the world he loves, a world full of memories with his family and friends. Remember, it had just been destroyed a few months prior thanks to baby Vegeta and the Black Star Dragon Balls, so he wasn't going to let it happen again. As Omega Shenron fires an energy ball, Goku slams Vegeta out of the way, as if he knows that Vegeta would just die, saving his rival and friend, despite the fact that he's likely even more hurt than Vegeta is. Goku intercepts the negative energy ball, while in his base form. He's facing an enemy who surpassed even Super Saiyan 4s. By all logic, he shouldn't stand a chance, and yet he does. He tells Omega that Earth has already been saved and restored by the Dragon Balls multiple times, but this time they can't rely on them. This is a pretty obvious juxtaposition to the Kid Buu encounter, with Goku now in Kid Buu's place, and with no Dragon Balls to rely on like he did back then. But he's actually able to do it. Along with the roar of Anozaru, Goku saves Earth from utter destruction, with the only damage being a giant crater, and the seeming death of Goku. Even Omega is somewhat confused by this, saying that somehow Goku managed to save Earth in exchange for his life. Everything seems hopeless as Omega's negative energy continues to spread, causing mass chaos and destruction. Although Goku's final scene coming up is often talked about as one of the best in the franchise, I also want to give attention to Vegeta's scene here, where he curses their fate. First, his home world, Planet Vegeta, was destroyed by Frieza, and now his new home is also going to disappear? Vegeta is ready to give up his life just as Goku did, only stopping to tell Trunks to escape using Bulma's ship, so that they can survive along with their families, and train to one day defeat Omega Shenron. It's a fantastic moment for Vegeta, who has now become completely self-sacrificial for not just his family, but Goku's and Earth in general. In a different world, I would have loved to see this scenario play out, one where the doomed Earth needs to be rescued by the only survivors left, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Oob, and Pan. But the Saiyans could never stand by and watch Vegeta die, entrusting their families to Oob, as they follow the Saiyan Prince to what they know could be their demise. It seems fitting that the only form any of them can use at this point is no Super Saiyan 4, not even 2 or 3. It's just the simple first state that started it all, which, of course, is no use in front of Omega Shenron. Through Vegeta's fight, we get a glimpse of Goku in the crater, completely unmoving. He does seem dead. He's asking for energy so he can create the last spirit bomb.
みんなの元気をくれ。このままじゃ、おら、死ねねえんだ。
By all accounts, Goku should be dead here, and well, he might as well be. No one is able to read his energy. Omega, Vegeta, and the others are sure Goku is dead. Yet, he rises once more, with Vegeta boldly declaring to Omega Shenron that he has lost. Out of the crater rises Son Goku with the ultimate spirit bomb, made up of the energy from his friends and foes all over the universe and beyond. Goku tells Omega Shenron one last thing. I can't die just yet, not until I've put you away.
やっつけるまではな。
In the Dragon Box DVD release of the show, Dragon Ball GT writer Atsushi Maekawa gave us some insight into this moment. In that episode, Goku, who takes Yi Shinlong's attack, sinks to the bottom of a deep hole. That is the turning point. Afterward, Goku still continues to battle, but what's different from before is that he's cloaked in an aura that won't let any attack near him. If we watch that episode, we see exactly that. Omega Shenron fires multiple blasts at Goku over and over, and while Goku does react, he is mostly unbothered by them. So, did Goku actually die? Well, in Dragon Ball, death comes with halos and a trip to the afterlife. But Goku doesn't get either. Instead, after sacrificing himself, he returns changed, invulnerable to attacks from Omega, protected by something beyond. Pan even says it. He looks like a god. Omega Shenron asks who he is. Maekawa goes on to say, it might be that he died there, or it might be that he became something else entirely. I'll leave that decision to the imagination of everyone who watched. However, the Goku up to that point that everyone knows clearly does not appear after that. In the world of Dragon Ball, Goku had already died multiple times, and up till then, each time he appeared with a halo over his head. However, I didn't want to go with the usual concept of, even when he dies, he comes right back to life. I wanted viewers to picture death in that way, and feel a sadness close to it in reality. So I had a change come over Goku. Remember, Dragon Ball has always taken deep inspiration from Eastern philosophies and culture, so this transformation can be understood through the Taoist concept of Baidi Feisheng, which means ascension in broad daylight. According to Derek Padula in Dragon Ball Culture Volume 2, in Taoist tradition, when a practitioner has mastered the Tao, the natural way of the universe, they can achieve something of spiritual immortality. Their souls become so refined, so in harmony with the cosmos, that they don't belong to the mortal world anymore. And when they finally ascend, it doesn't happen in secret, but in full view of others. This is often represented as them being carried to heavens on the back of a dragon. After defeating Omega, Shenron appears unprompted in broad daylight for the first time ever. No summoning, no darkened skies. All while Goku is once again on the ground, seemingly dead. He doesn't awaken until Shenron's eyes glow, telling him to rise. It could just be seen as Shenron healing him, but maybe this is when he and Shenron really become linked. After all, Goku already knows that he and Shenron will be leaving together. Shenron grants one final wish to revive those killed. And take note that Earth did not go back to the way it was. It remained affected by all the natural disasters, pollution, and destruction brought about by the Shadow Dragons and the forces of Hell. Shenron did allow humanity to be restored, but they will have to work together in order to go back to the way it was. They'll have to put aside their differences to once again live in peace, instead of simply relying on the Dragon Balls. And with that, Shenron tells Goku that it's time to go. In Taoist belief, ascension to heaven doesn't mean you die in a literal sense. It means that you've gone beyond the need of a mortal body. Not a death, but a transformation. And in a series built around transformations, as a final one, this does feel the most appropriate. Goku rides off on Shenron's back, fuses with the Dragon Balls, and disappears. It could be seen as Goku becoming something of a guardian to the Dragon Balls, which, as Trunks explains, would disappear until humanity learns to fend for themselves again. And as something of the Dragon Ball's guardian, Goku would much later reappear alongside the 4-star Dragon Ball to his great... how many greats was it? Well, his great-grandson Goku Jr. But I'll get to that soon. Regarding Goku leaving, Maekawa continued to explain. Once he defeats Yi Shinlong and grants the final wish, Goku goes right off with Shenron and the Dragon Balls to somewhere that people definitely can't get to, while wishing that people will be able to get by on their own strength in a world without the Dragon Balls. And Vegeta is the only one who notices where he's headed, except I personally go ahead and imagine that Goku might unexpectedly show up just at Chi-Chi's from time to time. Yes, unexpectedly. Like he said, only a few characters fully grasp it, Vegeta, Roshi, and Piccolo. I would argue that Krillin does too, since he asks this. But he does seem a little more aloof than the other three. And then there's Pan, who finds Goku's gi lying on the ground, despite the fact that he was still wearing it when he left. Vegeta tells her to treasure it, because he knows the Goku they knew may never come back. Goku's already beyond mortality. He's a spirit, leaving behind only his clothes. This is further exemplified with how Shenron can take Goku between the living world and the next, and the symbolism of Goku's footprints being washed away by the waves at Kamehameha house. Back to Taoism, it's said that a practitioner cultivates a dragon within their spirit over a lifetime, and when the time comes, that dragon emerges and carries them beyond. So maybe Shenron wasn't just the dragon Goku knew. Maybe, in a sense, Shenron was Goku's dragon, carrying him and the Dragon Balls to the ascended godly realm, until the day he may be needed again, perhaps. I also love the final idea that he may visit Chi-Chi's home from time to time. It's very sweet. Now, we know what Goku's ascension means, but in universe, is there a more concrete explanation as to why this could have happened? Besides Goku just being different? In the final episode of GT, Shenron himself explains that the dead returning to life and the merging of the living world and the afterlife had a direct consequence on the Dragon Balls accumulating negative energy. The balance of the universe had been completely thrown out of order, especially on Earth. At the beginning of the arc, in episode 48, the old Kai reveals that Earth had been pushed into a different plane of existence, cut off from the rest of reality because of that same corrupted energy. Because of this, Kibito Shin couldn't even teleport to Earth to help out. This disruption didn't just affect the world physically, it affected the laws of life and death. As if the afterlife couldn't function properly, souls couldn't just pass on. Then perhaps, when Goku is struck by Omega Shenron's negative energy sphere, he does die, just as the narrator and many other characters seem to believe. But because Earth's reality is broken, he just can't rest. He remains in some kind of limbo, held up by sheer will and the Genki of the universe. So when he says, "I can't die just yet, you know, not until I've put you away," it's not just battle talk, it's literal. He continues to fight because he can't pass on until he's defeated Omega Shenron. And after he's defeated, Shenron emerges, breathes life back into Goku, but instead of simply resetting things like usual, the Eternal Dragons come out to restore balance. The Earth cleared from the negative energy and Goku's lesson learned. After all, Goku has always been the center of these events, leading to the overuse of the Dragon Balls. From the Saiyans to Frieza, Cell, Buu, Baby, the Shadow Dragons, it all traces back to Goku. And he does take responsibility. The old Kai also blames Bulma just as equally for creating the Dragon Radar, so maybe she should be leaving on her own dragon. Anyways, that's why Shenron doesn't just grant a wish and vanish. It's as if the dragon itself recognizes Goku's role in all of this, becoming one and passing on the guardianship. Goku didn't just go away, he became something more. A spirit tied to the Dragon Balls themselves, watching from beyond and waiting for the world that no longer needs miracles to solve its problems. Masako Nozawa, Goku's original Japanese voice, also had her own similar input on what this scene represented. The scene where, after Goku finishes fighting, he rides on Shenlong and says, "Shenlong's back sure is warm." That's because riding on Shenlong means that Goku is going to leave this world and go to the world of the gods. I was glad that they didn't write it plainly that he died though. I feel that Goku probably went to Shenlong's place and is training again. So, the common consensus is that Goku fell in battle, but ascended beyond life and death, going to a different plane of existence with Shenron. What's interesting is that this scene of Goku's transcendence was one of the first things they planned from the very start of Dragon Ball GT, as producer Kozo Morishita explained in the Dragon Box. With that last scene, right from when Dragon Ball GT began, we had decided, let's do it like this, not knowing whether he's alive or dead. It was precisely because that scene had already been decided upon that we were able to have Goku make this impressive appearance at the end of the TV special. That special, known in English as Hero's Legacy or the 100 Years Later special, is interesting because it aired months before the series ended. That's why it starts with a recap of the defeat of Baby rather than Omega Shenron. It focuses on Goku Jr. going on a quest for the 4-star Dragon Ball to try and save his sick grandmother, Pan, through some dangerous adventures where he moves from a normal world to one filled with monsters and witches. Goku Jr. finds the Dragon Ball, active once more. But it doesn't work. He doesn't even know that he needs all 7 until Goku himself appears. In a sense, he is there as the guardian of the Dragon Balls he once left with. This story is much more grounded than the usual. Goku Jr. is just a kid like anyone else. Sure, he's a little bit proficient in martial arts, but not by much. This brings me to another point about the ending of GT, which I think weaves well into the special. My friend Alfie over at The Geek for Fun said something that stuck with me. It's not just Goku saying goodbye, it's us, the audience, saying goodbye to Dragon Ball as we knew it. The world of Dragon Ball GT has already changed. The fashion becomes more grounded, the buildings, the technology, the people, they feel more like ours. They have cell phones, Vegeta's wearing normal clothes, etc. It's less mystical. The Dragon Ball world is slowly becoming our own. And in that world, Goku is the last spark of the fantastical, the final remnant of a mythic age. And when he leaves, in a way, the magic goes with him. But then, a century later, Goku Jr. picks up that mantle, a kid who's practically just us. Remember, Dragon Ball had been going for 11 plus years at the point GT ended. The kids who watched Goku from the start were likely adults by now. They had started to watch the show around Goku Jr.'s age, and new younger kids were getting into it too. So the world of the special feels more realistic, with more dirt roads, normal cars. At first, he faces dangers which any kid could, from bullying to getting picked up by a bad stranger. Sure, there's still some elements of the Dragon Ball we knew, like some of the architecture, but it looks like the end of GT, where so much of the world had to be rebuilt, did have some kind of reset to Earth. He doesn't have this Saiyan legacy around him beyond just Pan. He's just the scared, awkward, kind-hearted boy who knows about the Dragon Balls but only as a legend. And when he taps into that legend, when he earns his strength, the magic returns. In the form of monsters, Super Saiyan, and the 4-star Dragon Ball. The message at the end of GT is clear. You have to do it without the Dragon Balls. You have to do it without Goku. And maybe we're supposed to, because Goku can't solve all our problems, but his story can give us strength. This makes it even more heartwarming when Goku finally appears before the desperate Goku Jr., encouraging him to keep his head held high, proud of him for being brave. The Dragon Balls weren't needed to save Pan, but the journey did give Goku Jr. the strength he needed. The lesson Goku learned about not having to rely on the Dragon Balls was passed on. And in that final episode, Goku pays that future world one final visit, where Pan and the audience get that last glimpse of him, waving us goodbye until we meet again. It's as if Goku became something beyond human, or Saiyan I guess. Not a god in a literal sense, but a guiding spirit for future generations. A being who's done his part and can now rest, watching over the world that no longer needs him. Which, honestly, as someone who has been inspired and knows so many people who've been inspired by Goku, feels very heartfelt. To know that, despite Goku's story being over, I can take those lessons, memories, and fun with me along the way is very comforting. Of course, Goku did come back. He came back many, many times, but for a long time. This really was it for Dragon Ball. Yes, Goku's stories are never ending, because there is always one more step to climb, one more foe stronger than yourself to overcome. But when the time truly comes for Dragon Ball to end, I hope Goku isn't remembered as just a hero, but a reminder that there's always a new level to reach, and someone worth protecting. So maybe Goku didn't just descend, maybe he became the Dragon Ball we carry with us. That symbol of growth, of hope, of never giving up. He sacrificed himself and ascended, leaving humanity to learn and grow on its own, without him nor the Dragon Balls. So he could do what he does best, train forevermore in a realm of gods. I also want to give a huge thank you to the channel supporters. If you want to see videos like this early, and some extra videos here and there, then consider joining the Patreon, link in the description. And if you want more deep dives into Dragon Ball lore, then check out my video on the complete history of the Frieza Force.